Remember a Christmas where the magic wasn't in the gadgets or flashy gifts, but in family traditions, handmade decorations, and the simple joy of togetherness? Join us as we travel back to the 60s and 70s to rediscover 15 Christmas traditions that have completely disappeared and see how different our holidays used to feel. Aluminum Christmas trees. Before the days of LED lights and artificial furs, there was a metallic marvel that defined Christmas in many Australian homes, the aluminum Christmas tree. Sparkling silver, sleek and unmistakably futuristic, these trees first appeared in the late 1950s and dominated holiday decor through the 1960s. Unlike traditional evergreens, aluminum trees were maintenance-free, never dropping needles or requiring watering. Families eagerly purchased them from department stores or specialty companies, drawn by the promise of a modern, space-age holiday. Because these trees were highly conductive, stringing traditional lights was impossible. Instead, households rotated colour wheels, discs with coloured gels, that cast shifting hues of red, green, blue and amber over the shimmering branches. Trees range from 2 to 8 feet tall, their silver branch tips resembling giant bottle brushes. By the mid-1960s, they were a common sight in suburban living rooms, embodying a sleek, contemporary aesthetic. Yet the novelty didn't last. Critics ridiculed them for their artificiality, while changing tastes and environmental concerns slowly pushed aluminum trees out of fashion. By the early 1970s, their popularity had plummeted, leaving only memories and a handful of collectors who prize these metallic icons today. While modern Australians might admire them in retro magazines or vintage fairs, the gleaming spectacle of a spinning colour wheel illuminating a silver tree has vanished from Christmases down under. Family Christmas plays in the living room. Back in the 1960s and 70s, Christmas wasn't just about decorations and presents. It was also a stage for creativity, right in the heart of the home. Australian families often transformed their living rooms into miniature theatres, performing Christmas plays for parents, grandparents and neighbours. Cardboard, tinfoil and old sheets became costumes, props and backdrops. Even the simplest setup could become magical, with children assigned roles as shepherds, angels, wise men, or even animals. Rehearsals began weeks in advance, often taking over the dining table or coffee table as families practiced lines, songs, and choreography. Parents directed and produced, siblings argued over leading roles, and everyone took pride in their contribution. Homemade decorations and improvised lighting added charm and suspense, while pets occasionally wandered into scenes, creating moments of unscripted hilarity. By the time Christmas Day arrived, the living room buzzed with excitement. The audience gathered on couches or floor cushions, applauding every dramatic pause and musical number. The magic wasn't just in the performance, it was in the shared effort, the laughter, and the sense of family tradition. Today, Australian homes rarely host such elaborate living room productions. Professional shows, digital entertainment, and busy schedules have replaced these intimate performances. Yet those who grew up with them still remember the joy of seeing their family's tiny stage come alive, an unforgettable part of Christmas past. Handmade decorations. Christmas in the 1960s and 70s was a hands-on celebration, and nothing captured the festive spirit better than handmade decorations. Australian families spent weeks cutting, gluing, and crafting ornaments that turned homes into vibrant winter wonderlands. Construction paper, tinsel, cotton wool, and even old magazine pages became the raw materials for garlands, paper chains, and intricate tree decorations. Children eagerly joined in, scissors and glue sticks in hand, while parents guided them in creating perfect loops or layering colours in eye-catching patterns. Classrooms doubled as creative studios, with teachers turning crafting into competitions. Whose chain was the longest, or whose star shone the brightest? Community halls and churches often hosted group decoration sessions, bringing neighbourhoods together in a flurry of glitter, ribbon and laughter. Each decoration carried a personal touch and a sense of pride. Unlike mass-produced ornaments, these pieces were unique, reflecting the maker's imagination and effort. Hanging them on the tree or across windows was as much about the process as the result. Today, in Australia, store-bought decorations dominate, and few families invest time in creating handmade embellishments. Yet those who experienced it remember the tactile joy of paper chains, the sparkle of homemade stars, and the stories behind each creation. The art of crafting a home for Christmas with your own hands has quietly disappeared from the festive season. Carolers at the door. Once upon a time, Christmas in Australia meant more than lights and gifts. It meant music drifting through the neighbourhood. Groups of carolers would bundle up on chilly December evenings, knocking on doors to sing traditional Christmas songs for families. Churches, scout troops and youth groups often organised the outings, turning carolling into a cherished community event. Children carried songbooks and flashlights, while parents guided younger siblings through familiar tunes. Homeowners eagerly awaited their visit, preparing cookies, hot chocolate, and sometimes small donations for charities like UNICEF. Carolling wasn't just entertainment, it was a social ritual, connecting neighbours and creating shared memories. Streets echoed with harmonies of Silent Night, Away in a Manger, and other timeless carols, bringing a sense of magic to suburban streets and country towns alike. By the mid-1970s, the tradition began to fade. Concerns over stranger danger, busier lifestyles, and the rise of apartment living made spontaneous visits less common. Today, in Australia, carolling mostly happens at organised events, nursing homes or shopping centres, rarely on quiet residential streets. The thrill of unexpected voices appearing on your doorstep, singing into the night, has largely vanished. Those who remember it recall the warmth, laughter and connection it brought, a fleeting, irreplaceable part of Christmas past. Trains under the Christmas tree. Picture a living room in Australia during the 1960s or 70s, where the centrepiece of the Christmas tree wasn't just ornaments or tinsel, it was a miniature railway. Model trains running around the base of the tree were a festive staple, captivating children and adults alike. Tracks were carefully arranged in circles or figure eights, winding around presents and often threading through tiny villages or snowy landscapes crafted from cotton wool, cardboard and paper. Families spent hours assembling the layouts. Parents tinkered with locomotives, ensuring smooth motion, while children arranged miniature trees, houses and figurines along the track. Electric train sets brought movement and sound into the living room, turning a simple decoration into an enchanting display. Every morning and evening, the gentle chugging of engines, the flashing lights of carriages, and the motion of little wheels sparked awe and excitement. By the late 1970s, this tradition began to wane. Rising prices, the complexity of setup, and the shift toward mass-produced electric decorations made treetop trains less common. Today, in Australian homes, model trains under Christmas trees are a rare sight, often reserved for collectors or enthusiasts. Those who grew up with them remember the magic of watching tiny locomotives circle beneath twinkling lights, a tactile, mesmerising tradition that has disappeared from most festive celebrations. Real candles on the Christmas tree. Imagine an Australian home in the 1960s, where the Christmas tree glowed not from electric lights, but from the warm flicker of real candles. Families carefully clipped small white candles onto the branches, securing them in metal holders to prevent accidents. On Christmas Eve, the room would fill with a soft, golden glow, casting dancing shadows on walls and ceilings. Parents never left the tree unattended. Buckets of water were kept close, and older children were often assigned the role of candle watcher. Lighting each candle was a deliberate, almost ceremonial act, creating a sense of anticipation and reverence. the scent of pine mixed with melting wax became part of the holiday's sensory magic, a memory that many Australians still cherish. Despite the beauty, real candles carried obvious risks. Insurance companies warned of fires, and the National Fire Protection Association recorded thousands of tree fires each year, many caused by unattended flames. By the early 1970s, growing safety concerns and the rise of affordable electric lights ended the tradition in most homes. Today, in Australia, few households dare to place real flames on trees. LED lights provide a safer, convenient alternative. Yet for those who remember, nothing could replace the warmth, intimacy, and magical glow of candles flickering on a Christmas tree, a tradition that has quietly vanished from festive celebrations. Modest gifts. In the 1960s and 70s, Christmas in Australia often had a simpler, more heartfelt approach to gift-giving. Families focused less on extravagant purchases and more on meaningful, modest presents that reflected thoughtfulness rather than price tags. A carefully chosen book, a handmade scarf, or a box of home-baked treats carried far more significance than the flashy toys or gadgets that dominate modern Christmas lists. Children learn to appreciate the value of gifts beyond their material worth. Siblings would exchange small toys, homemade crafts, or carefully wrapped surprises, often accompanied by handwritten notes or personal messages. Parents emphasized the joy of giving rather than receiving, teaching gratitude and humility as central holiday values. Even adults often limited themselves to modest tokens for friends and neighbours, strengthening connections without creating financial pressure. This restrained approach made the festive season feel more intimate, personal, and connected to family traditions. Wrapping paper, ribbons, and handwritten tags added charm and anticipation to each gift, while the exchange itself became a treasured ritual. Today, in Australia, the focus on larger, more expensive gifts has largely replaced this understated tradition. Yet those who remember it cherish the simplicity, warmth, and thoughtful intent behind each modest Christmas present, a sentiment that has quietly faded from contemporary holiday celebrations. Tinsel made from real lead. Step into an Australian living room during the 1960s, and you would often find the Christmas tree shimmering with strands of real lead tinsel. Unlike today's plastic versions, lead lametta added weight, sparkle, and a tactile richness that made every branch glisten. Families carefully draped the metallic strands, creating waterfalls of silver that caught the light from candles or early electric bulbs. Children loved the sparkle, but also the playful mischief of tossing handfuls for instant decoration. Parents, meanwhile, treated each strand as precious, saving and reusing them year after year. Lead tinsel had been around since the 17th century, and by the mid-20th century, it remained a favourite for Australian families seeking that perfect shine and elegance on their trees. However, safety concerns gradually ended the tradition. Lead exposure, especially for children, became a serious health risk. By the early 1970s, manufacturers switched to aluminum and plastic alternatives, which, while safer, lacked the heavy shimmer and fluid motion of real lead. Today, Australian homes rarely see metallic tinsel beyond lightweight plastics. Those who remember lead lametta recall the sensory magic, the clink of strands, the metallic scent, and the way it made trees look spectacularly radiant. It was a small, tangible touch that made Christmas truly dazzling, and one that has quietly disappeared from the festive season. Singing Christmas carols together as a family. Back in Australian homes of the 1960s and 1970s, Christmas Eve often came with a cosy ritual that feels almost unheard of today. Families gathering in the living room to sing Christmas carols together. No Bluetooth speakers, no TV specials, just voices, harmonising or trying to, filling the warm summer air with familiar melodies. Parents handed out well-worn songbooks, sometimes with pages yellowed from years of use. Kids sat cross-legged on the carpet, learning the words to Silent Night. Away in a Manger, or local favourites sung with unmistakable Aussie accents. Some families used an old upright piano, others a guitar that came out only once a year, and for many, the cicadas buzzing outside became part of the soundtrack. The tradition wasn't about perfection, it was about presence, everyone pausing from the December rush to share a moment that felt simple and deeply connected. Yet as technology expanded and entertainment options multiplied, the practice faded. Recorded music replaced live voices, and busy schedules left little room for sit-down singing sessions. Today, the idea of families belting out carols together feels almost nostalgic. Those who remember it recall the warmth, the laughter, and the slight embarrassment of off-key moments. It was a gentle ritual that made Christmas feel close and personal, one that has quietly slipped away. Strict religious rituals and midnight mass. In many Australian communities of the 60s and 70s, Christmas wasn't just about presents or gatherings. It was deeply tied to strict religious rituals that shaped the entire holiday season. Families dressed in their best clothes, even in the heat of a December evening, and made their way to the local church for midnight mass. For some, it was the most important moment of Christmas, marking the transition from ordinary life to something sacred. Children dozed off on their parents' shoulders while choirs filled the dimly lit churches with hymns. The air smelled of candles, old wood, and summer night breezes drifting through open windows. Afterward, people often lingered outside, chatting with neighbours before heading home for a late-night snack or the quiet excitement of Christmas morning. But over the decades, these strict traditions softened. Busy lifestyles, shifting beliefs, and the rise of more casual celebrations meant fewer families kept the ritual of attending midnight mass. Some churches stopped offering the service altogether due to dwindling attendance. Today, while Christmas remains meaningful for many, those highly structured religious rituals have mostly faded. What's left are the memories, solemn, peaceful, and tied to a time when faith shaped the rhythm of the entire holiday. Department store Christmas celebrations. Back in the 60s and 70s, Christmas in Australia often meant piling into the car and heading straight to the big department stores, not just to shop, but to join their festive celebrations. Stores like Myer, David Jones, and Grace Bros transformed into lively Christmas hubs where families spent entire afternoons soaking up the atmosphere. These weren't simple shopping trips. There were in-store performances, children's parades, and sometimes even small concerts held right in the middle of the bustling aisles. Kids lined up to meet Santa, of course, but the experience felt bigger, almost magical. The decorations were grand, the staff dressed in themed costumes, and the whole building buzzed with excitement. For many families, these department store celebrations became an unofficial start to the holiday season. Parents used the outing as a treat, a reward, or simply a way to make Christmas feel special before the real festivities began at home. But as shopping centres grew more commercial and online shopping replaced weekend outings, these elaborate department store celebrations slowly faded. Today, you'll still find Santas and photo booths, but the grand events of the past have mostly disappeared, leaving behind warm memories of a time when Christmas magic lived right in the heart of the city. Christmas oratorios. Across Australia in the 60s and 70s, Christmas often came with a certain expectation, attending the local Christmas oratorio or joining the village-style community singing event. Whether people were particularly musical didn't matter. These gatherings were almost mandatory, a shared moment where entire neighbourhoods paused to celebrate together. Local choirs practiced for weeks, preparing big choral works that echoed through town halls, churches, or community centres. Families filled the seats, fanning themselves in the summer heat as they listened to soaring harmonies and familiar melodies. And in many suburbs, the community sing-along was just as important. Residents gathered on lawns, in parks, or outside small country halls, belting out carols with varying degrees of confidence. These events weren't only about music. They created a sense of belonging. People catching up with neighbours, kids running around with glow sticks or sparklers, and everyone sharing the feeling that Christmas had officially begun. But as entertainment options expanded and communities became busier and more spread out, these once essential gatherings slowly faded. Today, organised community singing still exists here and there, but the sense of obligation, the idea that everyone goes, has mostly disappeared. What remains are fond memories of warm nights filled with voices, laughter, and the unmistakable charm of old Australian Christmas traditions. Putting up the Christmas tree only on Christmas Eve. There was a time in Australia, especially during the 60s and 70s, when putting up the Christmas tree wasn't a week-long event in early December. It was a special ritual saved exclusively for Christmas Eve. Families waited until the very last moment, turning the evening of the 24th into a whirlwind of decorating, laughter, and anticipation. Unlike today's month-long lead-up filled with elaborate displays, back then the tree was part of the magic because it appeared so suddenly. Parents hauled in a fresh pine, its scent instantly filling the house, while kids unpacked boxes of ornaments that only saw the light of day once a year. The decorating happened all at once. No slow build-up, no themed colour palettes, just a burst of Christmas spirit right before the big day. For many, it made the night feel almost sacred. Once the lights were switched on, the room transformed, marking the true start of Christmas. Some families even waited until after church or a late dinner, stretching the excitement well into the evening. As lifestyles shifted and commercial traditions grew, the tree slowly moved earlier and earlier. Today, most Aussies put theirs up weeks before Christmas, leaving the Christmas Eve tree ritual as a fading memory of a simpler, more intimate holiday rhythm. Christmas modesty and three-generation family gatherings. In the Australia of the 60s and 70s, Christmas often meant simple pleasures and multi-generational gatherings rather than extravagant gifts. Homes were filled with three generations: grandparents, parents, and children, coming together to celebrate in a cosy, intimate way. Gifts were modest, often handmade or practical, and the emphasis was on presence rather than material abundance. Dinner tables featured traditional recipes passed down over decades, and everyone contributed in some way, from peeling vegetables to setting the table. Children learned the value of patience, gratitude, and community by watching older relatives interact and share stories from past holidays. The day was more about connection and tradition than flashy toys or over-the-top decorations. These celebrations were a lesson in balance. The joy of giving was tempered by humility, and the pleasure of receiving came second to family warmth. As commercialization increased and lifestyles became busier, the ritual of the extended family gathering with modest gifts faded. Today, Christmas in Australia is often larger, faster, and more focused on material choices. Yet those who remember the quiet charm of a three-generation household, sharing small gifts and laughter around a simple tree, recall a sense of closeness and community that modern celebrations rarely match. It was a Christmas where presents truly outweighed presents. Listening to the Queen's Christmas message on radio/TV. For Australians in the 1960s and 70s, Christmas wasn't complete without gathering around the radio or television to hear the Queen's annual Christmas message. Families paused their festive preparations, turned off other programs, and focused on the comforting voice of Queen Elizabeth II, delivering reflections, holiday wishes, and messages of unity across the Commonwealth. It was a ritual that bridged distances. For many children, it was one of the first times they heard about far-off lands, family members overseas, and global events that shaped the world. Adults appreciated the calm, dignified tone, which contrasted sharply with the chaos of wrapping presents, cooking, and decorating. Radios and televisions were often moved into the living room just for this moment, and everyone, from grandparents to toddlers, gathered together. The Queen's message served as a reminder of shared traditions, values, and continuity. Yet as the years passed, alternative entertainment and streaming services fragmented audiences. Fewer households made it a point to stop and listen or watch at the same time. Today, while the Christmas message still exists, the communal experience of families pausing together to hear it has mostly disappeared. It remains a nostalgic memory of a simpler holiday, where the Queen's words connected homes across Australia in a moment of collective reflection. As we wrap up our journey through Christmases of the 60s and 70s, it's clear that many traditions have faded, but the memories remain. Whether it was carolers on your doorstep, handmade decorations, or the simple joy of gathering around a tree, these lost rituals remind us of a Christmas slower, warmer, and more connected. Which tradition do you wish still existed? Share your thoughts in the comments and keep the spirit alive.